This is Gerald van Was. Once you understand a word, you also have access to it. You also have access to how it's best to approach it. The description, which is in the letters already, describes how it is best to approach it. And that's why it's a good way to understand the words themselves and to maintain also deeper relation with them, like they also had previously in long forgotten times, that certain words were used also to focus upon, and the more you understood that, the more you understood the relationship, what is written into these words. That was the purpose of the word in the first place. But let's go now to some words, and some words will also guide you to approach the content of the words well, and they describe also how it's best to approach it so that it will work also, that this word will work also, and that you have in that way a relationship with it. I will go to craft because it's also of course important to develop that craft, just like the craft to understand the words is quite useful, and craft in general. So how can we achieve a craft if you understand the relationships that are even in that word already present? I also understand how to develop certain things in a way that it will work, that you're not imagining things, but that it really is and becomes a craft, like the word says. And for the theory that is about letter meaningfulness, and also about positions that we also use actually a bit unconsciously and organize the letters upon it in that kind of balance. They are in that scheme that you have there on the left. They are also written the whole process of an order, of that self-organization order, has some examples in the books that you have there. But let's go to craft. And with craft, again, I will also give you the opportunity to realize, like, how do we use that word? What kind of focus do we use in that word? Because every letter is a kind of focus. And I will give you some examples, like last time, that makes you realize what kind of focus do we use in that word to make that word also, the content of that word, available in that way. And here I will focus mainly in this video on the first letter, and the rest I will go a little bit more quickly. But the first letter especially I will give a little bit more attention, and I will show you that you can understand what our mind is doing by choosing that first letter correctly. And every letter has a certain position, and every letter position has a kind of focus. And these focuses are about balance, and this balance is always this balance of 1, 2, 3. And I describe this 1, 2, 3 in various different ways. Let me give you again the perspective of the focus itself. And this focus will more and more focus very more clearly what it really means. So and in the beginning, the first 1, 2, 3 position of focus is actually like almost like the idea, like how well can we focus? And that's already making 3 categories. If we really can focus very well, and we have really a good focus on something, so that we are really sure, okay, here we can use something and I will use that and I can define it and so on. That is called a strong focus, of course. So you have a strong focus in the middle, and that's your direct focus to use. That's the first category. The second category is that kind of focus where you don't have that, because you're distracted by something that is happening there, by something that is forming there, by something, how it looks. You're distracted and it's not very sure where the focus needs to be. Is it then, so you can't find the middle immediately. The only thing you can do is see some differences. By emphasizing on these differences, you're also going to see, okay, but where do these differences come from, and what is really different? It's all focusing upon what is different, what is changing, and in the more you focus on that kind of focus, the more you also need that time aspect, the dualistic aspect, that we are actually not immediately focusing anymore, but we are distracted by something that needs follow-up. That's the second kind of focus. The second kind of focus is the second category of the letters, and all the letters that are into that kind of focus also are in that category. The last kind of focus is where you don't find your focus, but also you don't find anything where you can put your focus upon to that it directs you to where your focus has to change, where you have to go to, and so on. That's not clear. It's a melt pot of a lot of things there where you can't pick out immediately a middle focus. You can't immediately have a distraction focus. You don't know where to go to. So it is that vague contour in a way, where it is much more challenging. So your focus is distorted and it's challenging. So you need to use your focus in a different way, which is a third category. The third category is about the focus that you can only find by understanding the context. These three kinds of focuses. So what kind of focuses do we need for craft? Resume them once again. Do we use the craft? Can we have a craft when we focus on something with strong focus, that we really know what we do, or are we distracted in some variations? I was already a little bit distracted by a little fly here. No, are we with craft? If we start a craft, if we want to start a craft, what do we first do? Do we start from a strong focus from that we know what we're doing, what we have, or we really have to go and look for? Yeah, I have to take care very much to keep all my senses together, or is it really so much challenging that you really depend on almost on things that comes from elsewhere? So when will the craft be strong? In one of these, the craft, that when it will be available for you, when will a craft be available to you in one of these categories? Of course, it's the first category you will have. First, strong focus, which you also want to direct further. So I'll repeat just one more time. You had three kinds of starting points already, and here we choose a starting point that is our starting point, so we can decide also from here onwards that we are the ones also to figure out how things are, more than the experiences themselves that decide for us, or even other things that decide for us. We are here the ones that go and figure out how, for the rest, how it will work. Now there are, before you know the letters, where it starts for our focus is not just about that global thing from where we start from, it's also a bit more specific. And there are three categories as well that you have to, in which you have to make the balance, and that decides the letter. So in this focus, my focus, so that's here, I'm sure about my focus, I will have 3 degrees. So the degree of participation again, how much do we participate in this focus that where I decided also? Is it a real starting point of me, that I know what I'm doing, I know that I'm choosing, and I know what to do with it? So that's very clear. Again, a confirmation of that choice. And that it says again, I can use this as a starting point. Or is it a second category where this starting point is more about, okay, I can start somewhere, but it is more a kind of start that with which I have actually not really a clue where that will get me, where it will get me in the end. it will lead myself to things that I have no clue where it will lead me. That's a different category of thinking. Is it that kind of category? Or is that about, is that a third category where I know I have a starting point, but I'm already having a doubt, oh, oops, is this a good starting point? Because I'm starting to realize that it has a lot of limitations. It is not a very good starting point. It's immediately confronting me with my personal limitations. So it is a different kind of attention that it asks from me upon that choice. Which one of these three is it? It's of course the first category. It's my starting point. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm going to do with it. Before we know into what degree it will develop and how I will focus with it really, besides that I already have the choice that I'm going to make a choice that it is my choice. Also there are three categories in it, and then I will figure out the number. So I know I have a starting point, but what kind of starting point is it? And it was my starting point, but what's the starting point about? How it is reaching out, let's say. Where is it going to? It could be the category number 3, which describes that it is immediately going towards a very far away goal. It knows it has its own limits. It realizes also very well how far we can go with our choices and so on. Is it that kind of category? Or is it the middle category? And it's also about, yeah, I know I make my choices, but what I'm getting, it will be different all the time. And I really have to give most attention to the learning process itself, that I have to follow it up. And because things change all the time, I can't count on anything, not even on myself. I only have to count on how the things have to be followed up the whole time, like in an almost obedient way towards it. Or I am even more very strongly convinced that my startup is all I need. I don't have to care to where it leads to, and I'm absolutely not care where it will get me. One of these 3 starting points is very decisive now if this craft will work or not. Which one of these 3 is it? Is it my goal that decides it because I focus upon that and I know my limits, and so in that way that goal will be realistic? Or can the whole thing that I'm doing with my craft only be progressing when I follow it up the whole time and adapt the whole time and change the whole time or learn the whole time, and that I listen to every impulse in that way? Otherwise I can't really do anything. I can only focus on that, or not on what I want, but only on what is needed the whole time. Is that the craft about? And that's a dangerous question, because also describe it in a way that it is all these things are possible with the craft. Or is it enough that I say, okay, I have my craft, I have my power, and I will just count on it, and because I have that, the things will go to where I want them to go, and they will go where I want, or I even don't care. It will create itself out of my craft. Is that the way to follow it up? And in here I gave you already some options, that if you make the wrong choices, you will not get the craft. So here it will also describe what you need for that craft. And the letters that are related with them can be read here already, because a starting point which is very strong is the A. The A doesn't care where it leads to, and it doesn't focus upon these things. The U focuses completely on how it is learning its process, and here the C is a starting point where it will know its limits and deals with its limits. And for craft, it is very important. You'll work with your limits. You don't work with your talents. If you think you'll work with your talents, you go from A, but you don't look at the results, and the results can be completely disappointing if you do that. You will not create a craft like that. Not as a starting point if you think that you created it all because you have the talent. That's a bit too narcissistic to make a craft. A craft focuses on the goal where it will lead to, and it knows its limits, knows how far it will go to, and because of starting from there to focus upon the results that it can create even within all its limits, that will create a craft. The craft in that way will be an achievable goal, and the achievable goal is also described when I described a little bit better. This 1, 2, 3, it's also about 1, 2, 3 points I focus into a physical space in which left or right gives me some doubts, so I could choose right, could choose left, but when I choose a focus which is most clear before me, which is most clear to follow, when I follow that focus far away in the distance, then I deal with the limits of myself. I deal with the limits what to reach and what I can reach, and I know that point over there, that one I can reach, and that's the way how the sea makes its choices, like the sea of that also start with the choices. Also the word choice starts with C, and that's where you land into, and you have that focus that is realistic. And also the word realistic is with a C in the end. That's your strong focus. So that's the C. So you have a strong focus directing towards the achievement of a goal. That's already the result that we got from our analyzing. And I hope you could analyze it with me. I hope I described it well, but I was describing what is in the scheme, and you can analyze it in that way. That's where you already have, and now I add the other letters. The R will always link to the material in the context that will be useful for it. So what will be looked upon, what will be looked for in our goal. So with your talent, you know what kind of talent you have, you know the limits of your talent. You go to the goal, what I want to receive with it, and you just see what material will be able to be used for it. No, as simple as that. So that's what it is. It basically says I concentrate my eye, and I see as a goal what I can use and what is also available. This leads to A, or this will lead to the material, what is useful, and what will work, what will be noticed, all these kind of things as A, and what the A also describes what I can do with it, and what I can see, what I notice, what I think is practical, all these kind of things that fit to A. The F is, from there on, it can go in all kinds of directions and all kinds of materializations in all kinds of directions. And the T in the end will say, okay, and there it will receive a practical function. And you can judge it as such as well, of course. There will be the practical part that you can use further in a neutral way, even in the end. That's what the letter T is focusing upon each time. So also I hope that this video will have been a guidance to understand the letters also a bit better, and especially then the first letter C, how this is used in the word as the correct focus to focus upon for realizing and the realization of what is described in the word craft. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.